Let's watch a CNN panel where a rather spirited debate broke out about Biden, his age, his ability to continue campaigning after a recent New York Times article was released about the extent that his inner circle went to protect him on the campaign trail.
Wouldn't you have liked to hear from Joe Biden, hey, I'm going to take a step back, or from people close to him, hey, Mr. President, this is not the right decision for you? Wouldn't you have liked that conversation to have happened earlier?
Well, I mean, as you may know, I didn't want Joe Biden to run in the first place. I was opposed to him running in 2020. I was on CNN every week practically saying he was too old. We didn't need any more old white men running the Democratic Party. But once he ran and he won, he was actually a very consequential and effective president in many ways. I mean, he passed an infrastructure bill. He negotiated our way through.
Keith, we're on the same side.
I understand.
You're not answering the question. And this is a huge mistake that the Biden team made. People around him knew that he was not well, and they did not say anything. And they have endangered the country, not just the party, but the country, in not making it clear, I'm sorry, Grandpa is too old to drive. And somebody needed to say something.
I kind of agree and disagree here. I think it's important to differentiate too old to campaign versus too old to efficiently be president, something that MAGA successfully controlled the narrative on making one and the same. But it's indisputable Joe Biden's ability to legislate, or his legislative effectiveness in his presidency. He and one of the most polarized Congresses we've ever had pushed through a number of bills with bipartisan support. He pushed through 7 bills total, objectively the most legislatively effective president we've had in this generation. He negotiated the biggest hostage swap since the Cold War, the ceasefire deal in the Middle East. He had negotiated months ago, the one that had eventually gotten taken up, even though he obviously played really no part in getting it successfully agreed upon. He negotiated a coalition against the Houthis. He successfully enabled Ukraine in their defense of Russia. This idea that he has dementia or is too old to be president is nonsensical when you just look at his record. But he was too old to push back against this narrative effectively, or to effectively communicate to those still feeling the economic effects of COVID what he has done or what he's achieved, where I think the only chance that any party had recovering from a pandemic, from COVID, would be to have a strong communicator who could get out in front of it and from the jump, from the very beginning, which is the benefit Obama had running for his second term, even though, yeah, he had successfully turned us around. People were still feeling the effects, but Republicans weren't really able to play on that because Obama was a strong enough communicator to get out ahead of that immediately. And since we didn't have it this time, it kind of allowed Republicans to control the framing of what was discussed.
This is not new, and this is what's cost us election after election after election.
But there's a difference with a city council candidate or even a congressman and the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And what was mentioned is absolutely accurate. This was a disaster, potential catastrophic disaster for the country. And I'm glad you brought up that USA Today article. Where in one breath, Joe Biden said he would have won re-election. And in the next said, oh, well, I don't think I would have served the term.
Well, I mean,
he was willing to do that to the country for himself.
Yeah, I mean, look, he and maybe his family are the only people who think he would have beaten Donald Trump. The idea that he would even say that at this point is shocking to a lot of people.
I guess I'm the only one at this table who thinks this. I just don't understand. Like, why is this a shock to anybody? Everybody could see that Joe Biden was an old man.
The guy who chimed in at the end here is the one who's honestly right. This other conspiracy the left has capitulated to, that, oh, everyone was hiding Joe Biden's condition, is super weird to me. Like, everybody knew how old he was, right? Everyone knew he wasn't as sharp as he used to be. It comes down to whether or not you agree with the narrative that he has dementia or clear cognitive issues, or if he's just old, right? Which he doesn't have dementia or cognitive issues. I know, surprise, surprise. And MAGA being like, oh, well, now that people are saying, yeah, he was too old, that proves he has dementia. I mean, it's crazy to me that, one, these people will throw around like a real mental condition that everyday people actually suffer from as if it's nothing, like it's something to be joked about. But two, it's like the fact these people have never dealt with anyone with dementia. Like, yeah, I thought Biden was too old to run again, but no, he doesn't have dementia or cognitive decline. You can't read teleprompters with cognitive decline. You're not negotiating deals. You're not responding to reporters at all in any capacity with dementia, right? But that's why I voted for him. Being too old is why I voted for and publicly pushed for Marianne in the primary. However, and this is the decision that most of us on the left came to, when Biden won, I decided I still would have preferred him at 82 over Donald Trump. And you vote for a president knowing if something happens to them, their vice president will step in, of which I was also okay and preferred Kamala Harris stepping in over Donald Trump. It's literally that simple. That's why we voted for Biden. That's why we supported him, despite him not being as sharp as he used to be. Us being willing to admit that doesn't mean he has dementia. He clearly did not have dementia. But the fact that MAGA has to make this conspiracy just because they can't understand how the left might prefer like a pile of dog shit to a failed former president, 34 count convicted felon, fraud, and sexual abuser is kind of telling.
Who was running the country? He was running the country.
Who was running the country?
Who was the one who passed the infrastructure bill and passed the CHIPS Act?
Keith,
who was
the
one
White House said that Joe Biden was at the top of his game. They said that Joe Biden was.
White House is always saying that stuff. Nobody believes that.
The White House, his
People do
allies. I
believe
mean,
it.
even the people who later, after they saw him at the debate, like Nancy Pelosi, they told people that everything was fine. So the idea that everybody was acknowledging that Joe Biden
I thought he
lost
was.
the
I
set
thought
is
he was
not the
clearly
case.
too old 5 years ago when he first ran for president. I don't know how I expected him to get any better in terms of his age. But he actually, my point, and I wasn't just trying to deflect. He actually accomplished more than I expected him to accomplish.
This is frustrating because sure, they're right, but that's what you do in a campaign, right? You're obviously going to make yourself look the best you can. That's what Republicans did for Trump too. Meanwhile, Trump is saying things like you controlled the airports to win the American Revolution in 1776, confusing Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi, stating over 10 times that he's running against Obama. Like, it's clear even compared to 2020, especially compared to 2016, that Trump too had lost a step. Yes, Biden had lost a step, and no, not from dementia, from being an old man. And sure, maybe he was showing the signs of that more, but it's in the same way that Trump also has shown these signs. And nobody on either side is going to say that about their candidate in a campaign. But given how Biden performed the last 4 years, I had no reason to believe that he, at minimum, wouldn't be better than Trump the next 4. If not, at best, repeat what he did the last 4. And worst case scenario, I would also greatly prefer Kamala Harris to Trump also. I think she has much better politics than Trump. She probably has even better politics than Biden. But of course, to MAGA, what makes more sense than understanding this, because context is really hard for them, is just, well, Biden had dementia and now the left is admitting it. But it's the special kind of dementia where you can still read teleprompters and like 70% of the time you talk to reporters, you're fine. It just really kicks in debates, and the left knew this and they were all hiding it. And now when, the left is like, Biden was old. Yes, he definitely should have ran. Yes, like that's us admitting he has dementia. Like the convoluted delusions you have to indulge in to be in MAGA are so odd to me.